Yes, that is the storyline going into this best-of-5 grand finals for SSL Classic. Again, my name is Wolf. With me is Rapid. We have a standing casting setup here for tonight. But again, Free's getting older, right? Effort, of course, already has 2 championships under his belt in OSL and, of course, the VAT Star League. So big prize money. He was a very successful player on CJ Entis, and he's up against Free, who's older, but a big surprised to have him even in the finals at all.
Yeah, you know, you're right, Wolf. He also won like the BlizzCon Brood War tournament.
That's right.
A few years ago, and so really just a player who's more than used to being in these grand final situations. And for Free, like he was talking about in his interview, he feels like every time he gets deep into a tournament, either he doesn't feel prepared, or he I think in 2 tournaments where he made it to the round of 4, he ran up against Flash and lost to Flash before Flash went on to win the tournament itself. So really a little bit unlucky, but it's nice to see everybody. We are now on air in the Nexon Arena, so hello to everyone out there and everybody watching online. A big thanks to everyone for coming down or just tuning in online to this tournament. But back to what I was saying. So Free, this is a big moment for him. This is the first time he's ever made it to a grand finals, and it feels kind of like with the new beginning of Brood War coming back to popularity. Now it's Free's time to really define himself again.
Absolutely, but Rapid, I got to ask, predictions time.
Okay.
Who are you leading towards?
Well,
I'm going to have to show my 3-0 effort prediction.
I did the artwork here, guys. But I'm actually going to predict 3-1. I think it actually even could go all the way to a potentially 3-2 victory. I would say that Free is an underdog here, just given how much effort has been practicing. He's been stomping in the online fish ladder rankings. That guy is always up there. I think he's been in there for the last 3 weeks, I want to say. He's just been insanely good.
He's been dominating, and again, when Effort was going to the round robin, we knew that this guy was likely to go to the finals. He did end up eventually getting there with that incredible 6-1 score, so nearly a flawless run through that round robin. Free, someone we didn't look at in this tournament as a big favorite, someone we didn't look at as saying, okay, this is going to be the guy who's going to go all the way. We're looking at players like Mine, we're looking at players like Sock, right? And it was Free who eventually emerged here, and of course will come up to face Effort now in the grand finals. Of course, later on tonight we will have Innovation versus Solar, so StarCraft 2 fans might have come a little bit early to check out the Brood War, but later on you're going to get what you're looking for.
That is right. Even though it says there on the screen that Effort is in first and Free is in second, that's second after our Gauntlet playoffs. Free actually finished 4th in our regular round robin stage, and Effort, we haven't gotten to see him play since the final day of that season. So, it's going to be a little bit of a fresh face here because Effort hasn't played yet during the Gauntlet. But here are really important, victories, wins, losses for both of these players. And for Effort, making it very deep into the ASL, wind up losing to a Protoss player, Bisu.
That's right. So when you look at the statistics in terms of this matchup for these players, the only loss Effort has had recently is the loss to Bisu, who nearly made it all the way to the ASL Grand Finals. A very top-tier Protoss, but very much arguably a much better Protoss than Free, right? So that's the only loss he's taken, whereas Free only went with the 2-1 in SSL, of course, until leading up to the playoffs where he was able to defeat Sulky 2-0. But, I mean, in terms of this matchup, even though Free defined this matchup along with Bisu in the past, Effort seems to be the much stronger player in terms of the head-to-head.
It certainly does seem that way. And here's a look at our maps. Because Effort did place first in the group stage, he did get to pick the first map, and that was Neo Jade. And because there are 5 maps in this map pool, traditionally in Brood War tournaments, you repeat the first map on the 5th one. But because there are 5 maps in the map pool for banning purposes, we are going to be using 5 different maps, culminating appropriately so, Wolf, with match point on Game 5.
That's right, and it's statistically one of Effort's best maps. 3-0 career on the map. Free, of course, looking to try to last it out to Neo Medusa. Effort saying, of course, he was most concerned about Blue Storm going into this best of 5. It's a map that, again, isn't used super commonly. We have a pretty unique map pool for this tournament, as we've used maps for different eras. Whereas for the ASL, for example, it uses more common maps for the time and not pulling back as much of the older maps like we have, like Jade, Medusa.
Yeah, I was watching an online tournament the other day that was using things like Destination. It had some, what was it, Launch Longinus was in the map pool, and I'm just
God.
like, okay, well, I just haven't seen these maps for like 10 years. So these are a little bit of a flashback on some of our maps. I know a lot of tournaments are starting to use maps like La Mancha too, so could be seeing more and more older maps coming back into the pool. But for now, I feel like the map that probably gets played the least is going to be Match Point. So I kind of really hope we get to a Game 5 because that is a very cool map we just don't get to see very often.
That's right. So maps obviously will change from time to time, and we don't know what the Season 2 maps, of course, will end up being at all. So just exciting to see how it's going to shake down, but we are getting ready, guys. It is nearly time to get to that first faded game on Neo Jade. Effort, of course, 6-1 in regular season, crushing all of his opponents, only taking the loss in ZVZ in a build-over loss, a blind counter. Most would have argued his loss against Hero, he would have actually defeated him had they started the game off on even footing. He was blind countered, but he did not drop a single game in round robin besides that ZVZ.
You really have to kind of take that one out of the running for his first loss. Just crushing it ever since then. He looked fantastic in all of his ASL games until he did hit Bisu, but that should be actually really noted. He did lose that match against Bisu to knock him out of the ASL, and against another very strong Protoss player here, Free, it kind of looked like Free was in a little bit of a pattern here. Lose, win, lose, win, lose, win, but he finally brought it all back together at the end when it really counted, taking out a very surging Zerg player in Solkey in not only the last round of the round robin, but also in the previous match in the Gauntlet.
That's right, also defeating Hero, surviving to late game, getting that third base up and having the better tech units, but he lost to Effort in round robin, so he already has that 0-1 in terms of SSL Classic specifically. They're 2-2 lifetime against each other's post-Kespa, but at this stage in time, Effort seems to be the stronger in this matchup based on history alone.
Well, history is great, Wolf, but we are about to get into making new history, and for Free, certainly his very first finals, a lot on the line. So let's go ahead and get into Game 1 of the SSL Classic 2017 Grand Finals. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Game 1 of our Jin Air SSL Classic Grand Finals. Our red Zerg player spawning in the bottom left-hand corner is Effort.
And of course, his opponent to the top left in purple, it is Free. As we move into our first map here, Neo Jade. Very excited about this one, Rapid. In terms of rankings, there's a few Korean websites out there. There's a new website called starleague.co.kr, and there's a White Gosu, and I spent a lot of time talking to some of the pro gamers and some of the Korean analysts, and I asked them if what is represented in terms of rankings on the sites, if they felt it was true, if they felt that, as you see is bit of a hiccup here.
All right, there we go.
Well, anyway, I asked them what they thought, and most people were very much of the opinion that the rankings of Effort being top Zerg in the world right now were absolutely true, and that most put him actually 5th ranked in Korea now. But Free just hovering just above top 10 at number 9 in terms of the aggregate sites I was looking to and the analysts I spoke to. So both of these players are not even the top echelon. This is actually an invite tournament. People forget that.
Right.
This is actually an invitational, this tournament that we're casting right now. So definitely advantage Effort, though, in terms of rankings. When you include outside of SSL, the online tournaments that are going on, and the ASL specifically, the clan wars going over there. So again, Effort definitely considered in the top echelon, most considering him to be the top tier Zerg right now, whereas Free falls behind players like Bisu in terms of ranking.
Yeah, I mean, it should be noted that, you can say he falls behind Bisu, but when you consider overall ranking like that, just to be up there in the top 2, top 3 when it comes to this matchup is actually really, really impressive. So let's talk about what's going on right here. Well, that's a fan sign, but back in the actual game, wow, flying here on Jin Air to watch Jin Air.
Yeah, from Japan, apparently. So we're going to have a Nexus first here, which gave a bit of a swell throughout the crowd when that was launched. It's going to be Nexus before Forge, so a riskier opening here from Free. Obviously, this will be scouted by Effort. He can respond accordingly, but with the very late spawning pool he's chosen, there's not too much he can do right now.
Now, okay, so this is very important because Effort will notice that this is a Nexus first, and that's a very vulnerable opening. In fact, back in quote-unquote the day, when a lot of builds were still being figured out, Nexus first was actually kind of thought to be a little bit cheesy when you're practicing against players and they would go Nexus first. It's like, well, you shouldn't really be able to get away with that, but as players just got better and better, it really became a more well-fleshed out opening. Players like Bisu and Free really kind of pioneered, hey, this is something that you can go with, you can get away with, but there are some very important timings that you have to watch out for.
Now, Effort is going to take a hidden hatchery over here. Now, this could be, obviously, he's going to match the economy as Zerg always wants to be up a base on Protoss, but it's going to help him get ahead in terms of economy. But he may also use his hatchery to have some hidden tech, for example. We might see Mutalisk play, for example, if Free only commits to, say, the one Corsair. Mutalisk definitely a possibility. Could be a hidden, he might hide his Hydralisk in there and kind of keep Free guessing as to what is coming. So there's a lot of extra factors to hiding that hatchery over there.
All right, very annoying. Protoss probe getting into the base, and we'll be able to scout out the fact that there's no in-base third hatchery. Now, this tells Free a couple of different things. One, this could be a two-base Mutalisk build that is very early and very aggressive, but not something that he would necessarily expect. So already Free is going to start to be thinking, where's that third hatchery? Is this a two-base rush?
Yeah, that's why this probe comes over to check the more normal third base location. Doesn't find a hatchery. The Zergling obviously won't be able to compete with that probe in terms of speed right now before the Zergling speed finishes, so probe's still lurking around. See if he ends up sending it down to the bottom right. There is a Zealot now out on the map as well. It can do some additional scouting, as we do see, of course, the normal transition, this Bisu freestyle of Corsair after Forge Fast Expand. The Zealot is heading in the correct direction. We'll see if he does suss this out.
This is so smart here by Free. He said, look, there's no second base anywhere. What do I have to lose from sending a Zealot down there? If this is two-base Muta, Zealot doesn't do anything anyway. So going to send it across the map and scout this out, and there are not enough Zerglings on the ground to be able to stop this. As is, it's going to be a Hydra Den thrown down. So chances are this is a build designed to surprise Free with a very large number of Hydras where he won't expect it.
Exactly. So this Zealot will get some harassment done here. The Lings will eventually come over to meet this. In fact, he was only able to accomplish denied mining.
That's not enough Lings. No. You can't actually get Lings behind the mineral patch, so the Zealot is essentially immortal there. It's going to take a very large number of Zerglings. Wow, he actually did fit 2 there.
Yeah, that's actually a bit of a mistake by Free in terms of micro, but he does clean this up. It was annoying. It stopped some mining time. And it was a very efficient trade, as you said, with the surface area reduced. So we'll see if Hydras are about to pop out here. Very likely that we'll be seeing that coming up very shortly as Free's powering up the gateways. Did actually get his Citadel of Adun, but not his Templar Archives just yet. That's what he's going to need to eventually get that Storm to hold this type of aggression. Let's also keep a close eye on how many Corsairs he produces. That's going to be like really good for him in terms of scouting out the Hydralisk count.
Well, yeah, also Corsairs, in general, not that great against Hydralisk, unless, Wolf, you get Disruption Web later on, and then what are the Hydras going to do?
And then your opponent just wins the game because you made Disruption Web.
It's like, why did you get this stupid ability? I don't know. Yeah, so the Corsair, this is just scouting. Corsair not going to be probably producing too many because he's already scouted that third hatchery and knows there's a lot of Hydras on the way.
Yeah, a ton coming out, so just adding up the photon cannons right now. So he will need, again, more units to hold this, so he needs to just try to buy time. You can see the large amount of Zerglings out here as well. The Hydra's already starting to pick away at the Zealots, forcing them back. And there's nothing the Zealots can do. They're just going to eat free damage. This is so good for Effort. Even now using the Zerglings to run inside the main. This is disastrous. Actually, may want to just run by here instead. He's trying to weaken that photon cannon. It could help him burst it down. But I feel like that was fairly wasteful by Effort in terms of how he used those Zerglings.
Yeah, now there's a lot of Zealots here too. And Zealots are sort of like a slingshot. You pull them back in your base, and you let them explode out onto the Hydras. And +1 speed Zealots kill Infinity Hydras. I'm exaggerating, but you get the idea.
Okay, looks like he got the +1. I believe it finished.
Yes. Okay.
No, it did not. No, it did not.
Okay. Wow. This is actually a big moment, guys.
Yeah. It stopped spinning, but I guess it's just because he canceled. He knew it wasn't going to get it.
Okay. Wow, so that's a big deal. These Zealots are not going to be as strong. Now, they are going to be very fast, so you do have to watch out for them with your Hydras. Very careful positioning there by Effort to keep that damage coming in, but not overextend into those Zealots.
Now, if you look at the minimap, you could tell he is not planning on stopping this aggression anytime soon. He's just rallying Hydras whenever he could pay for them, even adding additional macro hatch. The Overlords are coming over here, too, just to have some additional detection in case of the potential DT defense. Now, here come the Zealots out. They do have their leg upgrade. Effort finally starts to micro. Didn't really need to micro that much here. He's got so many
look
Hydras.
At this control. The Hydras being pulled back. Several are dying, but they look at these Zealots. They're tearing the Hydras apart.
They don't have +1, but the Hydras were microed so late. Now they're finally being microed, and this is very expensive for Free. It looks like he will hold this off for the time being. Very well done.
That control. So many Hydras being saved with just slivers of HP left, but in the end, Free does break the contain.
Very well done, and now he's in a great position. He could transition those Templar, get that Psionic Storm upgrade, and could even put some pressure on with those Zealots. I have to feel that Effort could have microed a little bit better at the start of that fight, perhaps was looking elsewhere, but still, I mean, that was a very large amount of Hydralisks, and now he's going to lose even more. Looks like the Zealot's going to ignore this to try to look for drone damage instead, or perhaps to just escape with their lives. Good control here by Free, good map awareness, and he will save every single Zealot.
Now, in the game that Free...
I mean, I just want to point this out too, the Corsair is killing Free Overlords because he just rallied them all across the map. Not, didn't send just 1 or 2 for detection.
And there's no Hydras there to guard them too, so the Corsair, one Corsair is already taking out 2 Overlords, definitely paying for itself. This is the timing that Free is most well known for. +1, well, these are not +1 because the forward side, but speed Zealots in positions that are very difficult to deal with. Now, thankfully, the Hydras were rallied successfully across the map.
Oh, but they need more of them though.
Yeah, and there's just so many more Zealots coming out here. You know, losing Overlords is bad, but that's it.
That's it, man. The all-in fails, and the Zealot attack, counter-attack there was too much.
Yeah.
And so already, in typical fashion, Effort's very aggressive with the Hydras. Free does not make High Templar. He commits only to the Zealots as an insane Zealot count. Effort mismicros at first, and this is kind of what we expect to see from this series. A lot of aggression from Effort, or perhaps some hidden early expansion, some late game focus to throw Free off. But in terms of what we expected going into this series, into game 1, Free countered exactly what Effort was doing. He scouted it, he predicted it, and he did everything he needed to stop it.
And it should just be noted how important that one Zealot scouting the lower right-hand corner of Neo Jade was. Just having the intelligence to say, wait a second, I don't know if this is really going to be a 2-base. Let me just make sure, cover my bases, and really cover my opponent's bases too. Getting down there to scout that out, and from there on out, Free just knew exactly how to defend it. I was a little bit dicey there with the Hydra Micro, looking so on point, but Effort just didn't have enough, and once his Hydras were pushed back, he didn't have enough to fight back with.
Yeah, I think he didn't expect that many Zealots, so what he initially didn't micro at first, you want to make sure you maximize the damage, because if you're microing your Hydras back, you lose damage, but if you keep them there for the majority of the time before they get low, you just kill the Zealots, right? Because you're doing extra damage over a longer period of time. But if your Hydras start to die, obviously, even if you micro perfectly, you eventually get overwhelmed by speed Zealots.
Right.
So the counterattack there as well, all of his Hydras were in kind of different locations. They weren't ever grouped up. So not only was he losing drones in the main base, but I mean, StarCraft is hard, right? So the rest of his Hydras that were rallied across the map were actually being picked off in small groups, groups of 2, groups of 3 by that 6-7 Zealot attack. And also the Corsair was killing all of his Overlords, so he rallied every single Overlord across the map. So he was getting supply blocked. He was dealing with everything at once. That push was designed to end the game. It failed. He couldn't deal with the counterattack.
Yeah, there's a big weakness when you put your hatchery that far away from your main. Very difficult to defend. And at that point, once it was scouted out, it's always going to be a big liability. Now, that is going to be game number 1 for Free. So, Wolf, it appears as if my prediction is already closer to being correct.
That's right. I am no longer eligible to be correct in terms of predictions. As we move into our second map here, it is going to be Circuit Breaker. Guys, tell your friends about this. This could be a huge upset if Free can continue to take this momentum in this best of 5. Effort looks a little bit shaken, but we're going to go into it Free. It looks actually more stressed out than ever. Guys, it is time to go into game number 2. The map, of course, is Circuit Breaker. And we will see you in the game.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Jin Air SSL Classic Grand Finals. Game number 2 coming up. Now, Effort, a very aggressive strategy in Game 1. Free was on top of everything. He scouted out the extra hatchery. He was able to defend the initial Hydra push and then able to take Effort out with Speed Zealots following out. So this time, the Overlord Scout's going to be good, and we're on a very different map. This is going to be Circuit Breakers, one of statistically the most balanced maps ever made for Brood War.
It's such a great map. I mean, it's 4-player, obviously, so there can be some anomalies in terms of early scouting, but the rush distance isn't incredibly long in terms of 4-player maps, and just the base layout is very standard, I guess, if you will. There's no real crazy features about this map. So.
Yeah, there's nothing super insane. There's no like random ledges that if you just get on, you win. There's no secret random hidden bases. This is not like Andromeda. There's no base in the middle, even though the structure's kind of the same. No island bases. This is just straight up standard. In fact, if you guys are new to Brood War and you want to learn how to play maps like Circuit Breakers, like Fighting Spirit, very good standard match ways to start things out. Now, what is this probe doing over at the 6 o'clock base?
He's checking for the Overlord Scout, I think. If the Overlord, say Effort had spawned to the bottom left and was sending his Overlord north as he is now, he would have hit the Overlord at that exact timing. So he was just looking to see if the Overlord was there, because either way, now he's eliminated both possibilities of top left and bottom left in terms of spawning location. So despite this looking like a silly scout, actually, it's very intelligent because he knows exactly now where Effort is spawned just from checking that neutral base where the Overlord would have been. So really intelligent timing. Unfortunate, he's unlucky in terms of the scout, but still, a wise way to scout on this map against Sergen. We're going to see a cannon rush.
Oh, baby!
He gets the wall!
He gets the wall off. That probe is so safe. Probius is here in game number 2 of the SSL Classic Finals. But look,
okay, trying to for Sergen, but he's too late!
No! This is so terrible. Pylons go up, and even though the drones are drilled through behind it, wait, what? Okay, canceling those the pylons only wants one to come up. The second probe is in here, and the cannon rush is canceled.
I guess with the glitch alone and the damage the probe had taken from being at a bad angle there, he just wasn't confident he was going to be able to make that happen. So this does some last-minute cancels. This is huge for Effort, because obviously Effort now has the lead in terms of economy. He only had to pull 3 drones in order to pull this off. Obviously, you do get the majority of your minerals back when you cancel the pylons, but it affects the Nexus timing now for free. So what was a very aggressive opportunity there for really severe damage, and possibly game-winning damage, it failed in the end. So this is not game over for free, but certainly does put him a little bit behind.
Oh, Wolf, I'm getting sick chills here. Just for free to go for a strat like that, we haven't seen that all season long in SSL Classic or in ASL. It's just been straight up, well, not necessarily standard games, even in the cheesy games that we did see, nobody's gone for Cannon Rush just yet. So just really, really sick to see Free attempt that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that kind of style attempted in a grand finals like this. When you have a best of 5 to work with instead of just a best of 1 or a best of 3, then you can pull strategies like this off. And it's obviously it failed. It would have been a lot nicer if Free had actually scouted correctly, but that's one of the aspects of 4-player maps, right, that have existed in StarCraft since its birth. Even StarCraft Vanilla, 4-player maps are always going to be a thing, so sometimes you get unlucky, and the response time here for Effort was good. So Nexus is finally up here. We do see the 3rd hatchery coming up with the normal expansion this time for Effort as he goes ahead and techs to Lair.
Yeah, that lair coming up is actually a little bit scary, especially if we do see mutas on the way. You only really go mutalisks in ZVP if you know that you can get a superior count to the number of Corsairs that they're going to produce. And maybe that little hiccup in Free's early game would set him far enough behind where you just get more mutas and can maintain that air superiority.
That's absolutely a very strong possibility. We could see the mutas coming out early. The Stargate is just now being added, obviously, with the slightly delayed Nexus, the slightly delayed Cyber Core. This is exactly leading into what you're saying. Good control here on the links to prevent
round number
scout.
2? Are we going for it? No, just kidding. That was wishful thinking there.
Well, he's gets pushed away, doesn't get to go into the main base, doesn't know if Hydrogen's coming up, doesn't know if there's any extra macro hatches, so in terms of vision, mass advantage for Effort, and that shouldn't happen. And here's the Spire, just as you were saying.
So this is exactly what we're going to be seeing here. Knowing that Free's a little bit behind Effort is taking this opportunity to go for this air advantage. Now, even if he just goes for Scourge and tries to get them across the map to park and hit that first Corsair, that alone is going to be a very big advantage. And because there's only one cannon here, that means that maybe you sneak in there, or maybe you try to take out the Zealot at the front door and run by. There's a lot of vulnerabilities here that Free is going to have to cover.
Yeah, he has to use this probe even to wall right now. The Lings are going to try to force their way through, but Free holds strong. Another Zealot does spawn here, and so now he can tight wall that with the Zealots. But yes, there's a lot of opportunities when the Mutalisks come in and start harassing. The focus is obviously going to be pushed away to where the Mutalisks are, so perhaps a small
no, he's going to
like
run through!
This.
Oh no, that's absolutely terrible! He gets 3 Lings into the base.
Now the Zealots have to go into the main base, and the rest of the Lings are coming. He doesn't know. He doesn't know the rest of the Lings are coming.
The most useless Corsair you guys have ever seen, and it's nothing but Lings flooding across the map.
Oh, this should not have happened. Just one small mistake may cost him the game. The Lings are running in.
Oh my god!
The cannon's going to go down.
Getting surrounded. The probe's only just now pulled. Cannon is down. There's no more on the way there at the front.
That
Probe's
should just be
starting
game.
to fall. It's over. It's over. Effort has so many Zerglings running all the way across the map. There's only a handful of Zealots, and with every drone being taken out at the natural expansion and only 2 Zealots there to defend, Effort has a massive advantage.
Oh, that's it. He types out. Well, it looks like he was going to. Doesn't actually, but he's about to, man. Lings coming to surround every Zealot that pops out, and there's the head shake. This is the type out. GG!
Game
Puts us in a
number
1-1,
2.
man. And this is how StarCraft 1 works. If you make one mistake in that critical moment, in the Zealots, they go out to harass the Lings. There's more Lings coming in. That can cost you the entire game. And this is definitely a game that Free is going to look back on it with deep regret, as this one small move like that. Doesn't matter how many Lings there are, if those Zealots are positioned, they cannot break through. The idea was to look for a window when the Mutalisks came in, but we didn't even get to see Mutalisks because the game just ended off of one Zealot wall mistake out of Free.
The Zealot wall, the failed cannon rush early, Free trying a lot of very creative things here, but really just not working out. And for Effort, one of the most experienced Zerg players to ever exist, also a big fan of one of my favorite bands, Killswitch and Gage. He was able to get in there and just know exactly how to punish Free for his cannon rush opening.
Exactly. The Mutalisk play, the follow-up was intelligent as well, but we didn't actually get to see it come into pass. But imagine if there's even a few Lings that squeeze their way into the main base while you're also trying to deal with Mutalisks. You only have one Corsair, so you have to micro that too. Second Corsair is going to pop up, but if you lose your first Corsair, you lose the game. So really intelligent play there.
We're going to head out to a quick commercial break, guys. Don't go anywhere. Game number 3 is coming up next.